Okay, so welcome everybody. We had a lot of great questions and feedback on our CFQ Confidential Questionnaire Fact Finder meeting number 1. One of the questions that came up at the end was how do we position the CFQ meeting or the Fact Finder meeting if a junior associate or maybe one of your younger people in your office, a relative or partner or somebody else is going to be to do the CFQ meeting and set you up as the advisor. And I thought that was a really great question that needed to be answered, and today I'm going to answer that question. The other thing too is I have a actual questionnaire here this time, and a model and a tax return, and all the documents that we really want to see at the first meeting. And I wanted to go through these documents with you guys and show you how we position them. So again, remember we're still on a first date here. We're getting to know somebody. We're really trying to figure out what is important to them. And because of human nature and intuition, they're going to feel drawn to us because we are genuinely interested in getting to know them. We do not have any agenda here. We're not trying to sell anything. We're not trying to position anything at all. We're really just trying to get to know them. I do believe, however, that there is going to be a sale that is made in this confidential questionnaire meeting. And the sale is credibility for ourselves. So if we are the advisor and we are doing this meeting, then we are going to be doing a number of things to build credibility for ourselves. We're also going to be using the calculators in the model today. If we're positioning somebody else, if I'm the junior advisor or the assistant, and people in my office do CFQs all the time, and just with this CFQ training that we're doing last time and this time, it really honestly should be enough for somebody to feel comfortable asking the questions and doing the intake form. So we kind of ran through a bunch of questions last time, but right now I'm going to try to figure out what these people really need or want. And then I'm going to tell them, hey, if it's taxes that you're trying to save, if it's fees you're trying to reduce, if it's an overall estate plan you're trying to accomplish, whatever it is that you tell me is important, I've got the guy for you. I've got Andrew, or I've got Bob, or I've got Brannon, or I've got Cheryl, or I've got whoever it is that is expert and handles this type of stuff all the time. So I'm going to set up your next meeting to meet with them. I'm going to share all this information that you gave me, and they're going to be ready to really make a huge impact on your life. And so that's a very easy sale. I always tout in our training sessions, selling the other guy is way easier than selling yourself. The other thing is, if I get into a case where somebody has come to me and somebody else has done the first meeting, or an advisor is doing a joint case with you, if somebody asks me in that first meeting to tell me about myself or to tell them about my credentials, whatever it is, then I've realized that somebody didn't do a good job in that first meeting. Because they should build me up so huge and so great that these people can't wait to meet with me. Because it's a very easy sale. If I have to tell them, oh, well, gee, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, that's a more difficult sale. But if I have to tell them, oh, gee, I see an opportunity here for you to save some money on taxes. Andrew's the guy that's going to help you save money on taxes. He deals with this kind of stuff all the time. He's really, really busy, but I can get you an hour time slot with him 3 weeks from now on a Thursday. I'm going to give him all the information, and he's going to be ready to go right into his evaluation of your tax situation and show you how to save money on taxes. That's an easy sale. I don't have to have any knowledge to make that type of sale. To sell Andrew is really easy. Okay. So this questionnaire, I'm going to just try to block off the people's personal information, but I got some income here, and I'm not going to go through the entire questionnaire like we did last time. But this questionnaire has some good information on here, but this is the scenario where the client has got you all of the documents ahead of time. So we got the questionnaire ahead of time before this meeting, and we got the statements and the tax returns ahead of time. So as an advisor, I don't need to look at any of this stuff because I can open it up and see it right away. I don't need to do any planning. I don't need to prepare anything at all. My staff, however, needs to create a financial model based upon this questionnaire. And so the financial model is going to have all the stuff in here that's written on the questionnaire, but we need to verify each thing. So when they have Roth IRAs and 401ks and annuities and all this stuff on this questionnaire, I really want to verify it with a statement. Okay, whether they have mortgages, I need a mortgage statement, the value of their home. Once in a while, if we have free time, I might go on Zillow and check it out. Not often would I do that, but if I had free time, I would. Looking at their debt window here is all on here. Looking at their insurance stuff, I need insurance policies. If it's just stuff through work, that's fine. But if it's a long-term care policy or a life insurance policy, I need that statement to verify all that kind of stuff. And of course, the goals and all that kind of stuff on the back of here. Okay, so we kind of went through the questionnaire last time. What I wanted you to see today is how we position this meeting if we have all the documents ahead of time, and how we can really sort of condense our process a little bit because the client did what they were supposed to do, which is send everything in before they came in. Okay, so I've got the questionnaire in front of me, and I may just start by asking them if they're planning on any major changes, or before I get started, I might say, is there anything that your numbers don't tell me? Is there something in your life that's going on that I couldn't tell just by looking at your account statements and everything you sent in? And then, of course, that sort of gets the conversation started. And that's a very easy way to start getting people to talk about themselves. The model I'm going to pull up now, and quite honestly, the model that has been made from this questionnaire is hugely, hugely important because it tells the person that we've done a bunch of work. Right? So it looks like, and this model might only have taken 20 minutes. It probably takes my staff 20, might take your staff 30 or 40. But if there's not a lot on here, it might only take 10 minutes. But it looks like this Dan and Linda couple, it looks like all their stuff is on here, right? They got their insurance stuff. They have their 401ks, their IRAs. I can see how much money is going in. I've done projections for retirement. I've got their debt window here. So there's a lot of information here, and it doesn't look like we just didn't take any time and threw some stuff together. It looks like these numbers are meaningful based upon what they sent in. So this is of paramount importance because clients are going to get an immediate sense with, okay, this is going to be a productive meeting, time well spent. Jonathan and his staff have clearly done a bunch of work here. Okay, or if it's the first meeting and it's just an assistant, then you can make that assistant or junior advisor in your staff look like a hero because they did all this stuff, and it'll be very easy to navigate. Right? So of course they've got ages and close to retirement here. We've got Social Security projections on here. I've got their insurance stuff on here. This is not the model review meeting. Okay, so it's very important. The model review meeting, we're going to talk about performance, we're going to talk about fees, we're going to talk about tax strategy, we're going to talk about insurance, we're going to talk about products, all kinds of different stuff. None of that's going to happen today. All right? Just because we have this information, right, doesn't mean that we're ready to start blowing stuff up and going into their statements and doing other things like that. Okay? But what I do want to do today is I want to get a general feel for how they've made their decisions and try and see what's going on. Okay? So, I understand, Dan and Linda, that you guys are looking to retire pretty soon, and I also understand that it looks like you've been maxed out your 401k. That's your primary asset. That sounds pretty good. But I also see some tax-sheltered accounts here, which I always like seeing. You guys have a couple of Roths here. Here's my first question. Why are you only putting $1,200 a year into the Roths, yet you're maxing out your 401k? And what the clients typically would say is, well, number one, I didn't know if I could do more, or I didn't know if I was eligible, or I never really thought about it. And this is sort of where we're going to start getting credibility. And anybody can do this. This is not a difficult thing to do. It's simply this. You would say, a lot of our clients put money away in retirement accounts, and some of them do Roth, some of them do 401k, some of them do other types of retirement accounts. But what we find is the more tax-sheltered accounts we can do, the more tax-free investing we can do, the better off we're going to be in retirement. And that actually carries forward too. So not only are we going to be better off in retirement because all of our stuff, or more of our stuff, is going to be tax-free, but if we don't end up spending it all, then the money as it passes on to our children and grandchildren, that will also be tax-free as well. Most tax shelters aren't just tax-free to us. It's also tax-free to our kids and grandkids. How do you feel about that? Ask them if that makes sense. And they'll get that right away. This is not a confusing concept, right? So then my other question is, the bulk of your money is in this 401k, and it is taxable. I see you're maxing it out here. But what if you didn't max it out? Let's say here that our retirement age is 1 year from now, 66. Let's just change this, just make it more relevant so I can show some growth here. Let's say the retirement age is age 70. Okay. What I just did was I changed the growth from this 401k from like 700 to 900 just by changing that one field. But what I really want them to see is, okay, this 600,000 with your big contribution plus your match is going to grow to over 900,000. But what if you only put in what you're getting matched? What if you only put in $5,000? Because you're going to get the match on the 5,000, and that now the money's going to grow to 836. So you're going to have $100,000 less, but you've put in $20,000 less for 5 years. Well, wait a minute. You put in $20,000 less for 5 years. That's $100,000. You have just a little bit less than $100,000 less. That extra money. What did that extra money, or what they call that max out, what did that really do for you? Let's go and put this 836. Let's put this in there. What is this extra money really doing for you? It's really not doing a whole lot. Do you think it might be better if we were to redirect that money into something where it could build some more tax-free income or some more tax-sheltered growth for you for retirement purposes? So I'm not building a solution here. I'm just identifying a problem and suggesting an alternative. Maybe we do more Roth. I don't know. Maybe we do some other tax shelters that you don't have. Maybe we diversify. The question might be, do you think it would make sense to diversify into some additional accounts here that would be tax-free in retirement? That's not a question that somebody can say no to. So I'm just kind of getting some credibility to build up here. Now here's where the credibility is really going to become powerful. I'm going to look at their tax return, right? And so when I look at your tax return, it's not just a random thing anymore, right? Now it's let's look at some real relevant information. All right, and I got the tax return for the client right here. And so here's the client's tax return. It's self-prepared, and I don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this to see exactly what's happening here, right? They've got some itemized deductions. They've got some decent income. Their taxable income is 161. Okay. Well, if we go to taxable income at 161, let's go look at the tax tables. Your taxable income was 161 as married filing jointly, so you are in a 22% tax bracket. Okay, making between 77 and 165. What is the likelihood that you're ever going to go down in tax bracket and make less than $77,000? Right? If you went up into the next tax bracket, is 24 really a huge difference over 22? That's not a huge difference. Right? 22 and 24 is kind of similar. 22 and 12, that's a big difference. And also 24 and 32 is a huge difference. But for the most part, most people fall into this middle income tax category of making between 77 and 315. I don't think, Mr. or Mrs. John Doe, I don't think you're ever going to leave this tax bracket. I don't think you're ever going to make less than 70, and I don't think you're ever going to make more than 300 based upon what you have going on in your life. So if that's the case, and if you agree with that in general, where do we think taxes are going to go? And what we do know is these taxes aren't going to stay this low, because the Tax Reform Act is already set to reset and go back up. But even if it doesn't, at some point we want to have a conversation with our clients about where we think taxes are going to go in the future. We just gained a ton of credibility because nobody's done this. I didn't even have to explain to them the marginal rates. I just need to show them where they are and where they could be and where they might go. So if we're deferring money right now when we're in a very low tax bracket, does it really make sense for us to continue doing that? Or do you think it might make sense to diversify again into things that might be less taxable for ourselves, our families, our kids, and all that kind of stuff? So the answer to this question is, yeah, we definitely don't need to be maxing this thing out. I always tell people it's a little bit of a misnomer. Once you're old enough to be in that catch-up phase of your life, it's almost like once you're able to catch up, there's not really enough time left for you to catch up. Putting extra money into here for the last few years isn't going to make a huge difference in your life, but buying some other tax shelter types of investments or redistributing things other places for estate planning purposes and things like that might be very, very helpful for us. So let's explore that. And of course down here we talked about pensions and Social Security and RMDs. They're going to be making more than $70,000 in retirement. So this is good because it just verifies our idea. Okay? So right now, I don't think most people are going to argue with this whole scenario. Right? I don't think they're going to argue with, well, gee, I am really maxing this thing out. Maybe I should not put quite so much in there. The other way I might position it is, most of our clients when they retire, they regret having the majority of all their money tied up in a government-controlled account. Think about how simple that statement is, but how powerful it is at the same time. Most of my clients regret having most, if not all, their money tied up in a government-controlled account. Because this government-controlled account, we don't dictate how much money comes out of here and when. The government does. Right? And if we don't spend all this money, the government then decides, who's going to pay tax on it, how much tax they're going to pay. We're sort of taken out of that equation. So I would like to show you some ideas, or I'll have Jonathan next time. He really specializes in these tax shelter things, and that's one of his main focuses, not just showing you how to save money on taxes now, but how to save money on taxes in retirement, and also save money on taxes on your estate. He's going to review all these different options with you, but I just wanted to point out to you that diversification doesn't mean stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Not to us. Diversification for us means giving you some choices on how you can pay and how you control your taxes. Again, not just for you, but for your estate as well. Okay? So those are pretty simple things. I'm going to go down to the debt window today, and then I'm going to add some stuff on at the end. Personal residence, 150, auto loan, personal loan, 401k loan. Have you ever thought about maybe just consolidating these loans all together so that we can get rid of some of these other pieces of consumer debt and maybe even get you a sort of a better averaged out interest rate, maybe even more tax deductions, and maybe even more tax favorability on these loans? So that's really the question that I'm going to ask these people. Have you ever thought about it? And I don't need to get into great detail on it. If it's a junior advisor, they might just say, hey, it seems like we could probably save you $500 to $1,000 a month just by restructuring or reengineering some of this debt. Would you be open to that? And the solution would be just add these numbers up, right? 150, 200, let's say 225, 230, right? Let's go into the calculator, and let's do a loan for 250, right? 4.5%. 1267. This rolls all their loan up into the primary mortgage of 1267. So what are they paying towards all these loans right now? $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. So $4,000 is what they're paying right now. But remember, this, what I just showed you, this 1267 doesn't include escrows. So let's say their escrows are $500. So let's just say this is $2,000 a month. So by restructuring their debt, they're going to go from $4,000 a month to $2,000 a month. So we just saved them $2,000 a month. So would $2,000 a month come in handy between now and retirement? You think there might be some more interesting or exciting tax shelter things we might be able to do with that $2,000 a month? And you'll see their heads start to nod. Okay? So again, we're just planting some seeds and talking to them about things that may benefit them, not necessarily making any recommendations right now, but just seeing where they are, and then we can talk about actually doing that next time. All right, so restructuring this, not putting so much in this. This is not me saying stop this or do this. This is just me suggesting that they have some ideas and going to the calculators to confirm them, looking at the taxes and really not just giving them opinions or advice, but backing it up with some information that we can get some credibility with. Okay? So tell me, what is your plan here for losing all your insurance in retirement? What did I just do there? I just kind of, not in a terrible way, but just sort of pointed out to them that they're not going to have any insurance. Do you have any experience with long-term care? Would you be surprised if I told you that the majority of our clients in your situation, one of their primary concerns is how to afford quality care in old age if they live long enough? If I could show you a way to help you re-engineer some of these accounts, save you money on taxes, save you money on fees, restructure your debt, free up a bunch of money, would you be open to allowing me to help protect your estate from long-term care expenses if you and your wife are healthy enough to qualify to be able to do that? So just get a feel for what they say. If they don't know how much long-term care really costs, I don't know what long-term care even is, we'll say, long-term care is the cost or the care that a lot of people need to pay if they are lucky enough to become elderly and they need some assisted living help, or they need people to come in and help them with cooking, bathing, going to the bathroom, changing, getting dressed, just these activities of daily living you've heard so much about. In our area, and again, you can ask them what long-term care costs, but in our area, it's about $10,000 a month. So $120,000. The problem is you're only in your 60s, which is a good thing, right? But you might not need care for 25 years. So whatever growth rate you want to use is fine, but I just want to show them 1 year worth of care by the time you're in your late 80s, early 90s is $300,000 or $400,000. And where do you think the money comes from to pay for this care if you don't have any type of asset protection plan in place? Right? It's going to come from your retirement accounts. So this type of financial exposure could wipe out even the best laid plans. But I believe with no additional out-of-pocket cost to you, we can probably figure out a way to re-engineer your overall game plan to include some long-term care protection. If you're healthy enough, are you open to that idea? And now what we're doing is we're saying, okay, let's find out what your medical issues are, and let's start doing a little bit of digging around to see if we can apply for some insurance. I really want to apply for insurance on this first meeting because that process takes a while. Again, I don't need to fill out an application. I just need to get them the okay to have a paramed call them and do an exam at their house. Right? So maybe you notice down here they've got a survivor benefit option here. They've got an income rider here. Both of these things, what they basically mean is the survivor is going to get less money. Right? If one of you dies, you'll lose some Social Security benefits. So have you thought about how long either of you guys could live if you were predeceased by your spouse? And also, have you considered how much income you would have left if your spouse predeceases you and you had to pay for some long-term care? Would you still be able to afford quality health care yourself? Would you still be able to do all the things in retirement that you wanted to do? And quite honestly, this isn't really because you're young enough and healthy enough right now. And again, I'm saying that to a 70-year-old. I'm saying that to a 50-year-old. I'm going to tell everybody that they're young enough and healthy enough. I just want to encourage them, make them feel good, right? So you're young enough and healthy enough for us to look at this now. I'm glad you didn't wait until you're 70. But I can probably get some information that's going to be attractive to you if you don't have any major health issues. And then you ask them if they're healthy. And if they're healthy, then say, great, let's go ahead and just order a health screening to find out what you can qualify for insurance-wise, and we'll underwrite you for long-term care insurance, life insurance, asset protection insurance. Just one test. It'll give us all the answers we want on everything. And the next time when we get back together, we can speak intelligently about those options. How does that sound? So again, it's a very non-threatening idea. These guys are already seen us focusing on taxes. I haven't even talked about fees yet. I do have this client's statements because they gave us everything, and the advisor sent over gave us everything, which was great. So I've got the taxes, I got the CFQ, I got the 401k, right? And I'm not going to talk about obviously products today, but I'm going to ask them, how do you feel about the allocation in your 401k? Again, believe it or not, that's a planting seed question. How do you feel about the allocation in your 401k? I probably would say 80 to 90% of people don't feel anything at all. Haven't really thought about it, but you can see right here that these guys have been hemorrhaging fees and hemorrhaging investment losses. This was 2018, right? They lost 9% plus they lost a fee. So this is one where I might just ask them how they feel, and I say, in 401ks, and this is true for every 401k, they charge you fees whether you make money or not. You've probably seen commercials out there, and nowadays a lot of people are sort of following this new movement of saying, hey, you know what, if I don't make any money, why on earth would I pay a fee, especially if it's coming out of my principal loss? Do you think there might be, my question to you is, do you think there might be a better way? And that's the buying question. So by me asking them this question, they know I have a solution. I don't have to give them that solution. I just want them to see, do you think there might be a better way? I know that they've been maxing this stuff out. I verified this, but this is a losing proposition from this 401k stinks. And then I might say to them, The problem with these 401ks isn't even necessarily your lack of control, the high fees, or the taxation. Right? That was a bunch of really good digs, right? The problem with the 401k really isn't your lack of control, your lack of options, your fees. It's the fact that everything's taxable, and when you retire, the government's going to take control over this. And if you don't spend it, your kids have to pay taxes on every single dime. So I'm going to sort of talk to you guys about some solutions and some exit strategies on the 401k next time. And we want them anxious to come back in next time. So depending upon what kind of statements they have, the tax life, and everything else, there's so many different things that we can do as the advisor or as the junior advisor to position this case to progress to the next level, which is the clients being really anxious to come in, talking more about debt consolidation, talking more about tax sheltering, talking more about insurance options. It's a really great meeting to have. I believe the sale has been made. I think if I do a really good job and the client wants to have a relationship with me, and I'm pointing them out some serious opportunity here, I believe that the sale has been made 90% of the time. And that's why this first meeting is so vitally important, because it doesn't matter how much you know, the clients are going to want to know what kind of value you can bring to them, and they're going to want to have a relationship with you. Right? And it's not going to be based upon an investment or a product. It's going to be based upon you getting to know what's important to them. So that was another real quick half hour. If you put these first two questionnaire meetings together, I think you and your staff can put together a really great first meeting and get them positioned to have a great life cycle review meeting where we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to blow some stuff up. We're going to discredit their other advisors. We're going to really show how we can blow away our competition. We're going to probably introduce some charitable trust strategies, more tax sheltering, and have a lot of fun in the next meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and I'll open it up to questions. So give me a second.